All right, closer to home, let me introduce you to Big Boy. That's the name for this massive train. At a whopping 1.2 million pounds, it is the largest steam locomotive in the world. And on Friday, September 6th, you'll be able to see it in both Grand Mound, Iowa and Sterling, Illinois. Earlier, we got to chat with the engineer who helped restore this 1941 era train to find out what makes the Big Boy so special. We are joined now by Ed Dickens with Union Pacific. Ed, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me this morning.
Well, why don't we start with just how rare or unique this train is? Can you put this into perspective for us?
Oh, I'm happy to. It is an icon of our company. It illustrates the history of this great railroad and this great nation, the building of the Transcontinental Railroad, but also the technological development of the steam locomotive. So this was state-of-the-art 1940s. It represents 600 tons, 7,000 horsepower. And when you see the locomotive, if you see video of it, if you see it in person, you're awestruck by its sheer size. And who doesn't love that big whistle on that big boy locomotive?
Oh, yes. And you talk about this was state of the art in the 40s, but now, almost 100 years later, 85, 90 years later, how do you go about the restoration process? What was that like?
So we took the locomotive completely apart and we made as new as we could, made a lot of new parts for it, made it good, and it runs like a Swiss watch. It's just a magnificent machine. It really illustrates the technological improvements that were made over the years. But there's such a close connection to our modern railroad today because we do the same thing with our modern locomotives. So that's the neat part of the story that we get to tell.
And when you talk about a steam locomotive, tell people, how does this run? What sort of energy source does it use?
Well, it's actually not to oversimplify, but it is a simple machine. It has a fuel source. We burned fuel oil. Back in the day, the locomotive, like many locomotives, burned coal. We converted it to burn oil, fuel oil, and it simply heats it up in a large chamber called a firebox, and it boils the water. It runs at 300 pounds of pressure, and there are four big cylinders on the locomotive. Remember that the Big Boy is essentially two steam locomotives under one giant boiler. And those steam pistons, those cylinders, produce the power that drive the connecting rods. That's part of that animated motion that you can see. So it's very, very simple, like a giant, huge, very heavy duty industrial tea kettle, but it doesn't little waft steam like the tea kettle on your stove. This is a massive power plant, 300 pounds of steam pressure, which for those that remember in your science class is 425 degrees. So it's quite a machine.
What about this machine, this train, do you think fascinates people so much? Why do you think this captures so many people's imaginations?
Well, it's for years it was rumored that the Big Boy, being so big and massive, that it was a bridge too far. It was not going to operate. It just wasn't technically feasible for a variety of reasons. The other part is because it's a big articulated locomotive, meaning that it's two locomotives together, articulated, it moves. It's fascinating to watch. Photographers and rail fans that know what it is will position themselves in curves so they could see that centipede action. The other part, it's the year 2024. And Americans can go see this. Everyone can go see this locomotive trackside and witness 80-year-old technology operating fully functional, moving along the track in an animated, beautiful fashion. And again, I know I mentioned that whistle, but people, when they hear it themselves, it's unmistakable.
All right, so wrapping up here, if people go out and see it in our area, we've got a couple stops that people can go check it out at. What are some safety tips people need to keep in mind?
Our railroad, big heavy duty industrial network, is always functioning 24/7. All of our tracks are considered live. And we ask that everyone please remain back 25 feet, at least a minimum of 25 feet. Do not take a selfie in front of the Big Boy closer than 25 feet. We ask that no selfies and no videos are taken of that Big Boy 25 feet back. We're very, very adamant about that.
Yeah, safety first, always. Ed, thank you so much for your time today. We can't wait for it to come through.
Well, thank you very much. We're excited to see everyone.
And we do have the times that Big Boy will be in Grand Mound and Sterling on September 6th up on our website. The train's visit is coming up.